I was drinking something chocolatey, and when I was taking a sip from it, it splashed, and I guess I couldn't get the stain out. But at least I saved my leggings. My leggings are in perfect condition because leggings are more important than food and they're more important than water. Okay, so today I have one of those topics where my simplicity surfaces, but I'm still proud of it because at least I like to be aware of how I feel like us humans have a very parasitic relationship with everything and everyone. And I guess it's just our nature because of the way that society has been organized. And don't get me wrong, I'm grateful for some things that we no longer have to suffer from because of the discipline that we have established and the knowledge that we have inherited from other people's experiences, mistakes, etc. But at the very foundation of everything, I simply cannot let go of the price that we have paid for these things. And I find that not a lot of people seem to look at it that way, which is fine. I mean, I'm not sitting here trying to say that my way of looking at things is superior to anything else. If anything, I need education urgently because there's just a lot of things that I'm at very base level at. But I will always be confident about that. I feel like because I haven't accessed a formal education, perhaps I have not suffered from having my perception become inclined to a belief more than anything else, say, blindly chasing moving up in society. I might just leave it at that. I want to show you guys an image that I found somewhere. It looks like that. Basically, these are advanced architectural projects. I'm going to presume all of those are European. The one I recognize is that tunnel thing, Arc Triumph thingy in France. But then over here we have the more humble styles of architecture, you could say, the huts. The captions read, "You really have to be stupid or be hypnotized by a leftist ideology to believe that those who built this," meaning these things at the top, "will be enriched by those who built this." Right off the bat, I can tell you that the folks who built the more humble style of homes, from mud, clay, whatever the materials were, those, a lot of the time, we could credit with being the labor, physical laborers who supplied us with those amazing architectural projects that are displayed at the top. Now, obviously, it's very possible that the labor for those projects at the top of the picture came from European laborers themselves. But what I'm trying to convey is that in other times in history, especially during imperial times, when you would go to places where the folks who had the more humble architecture, you would take those folks with the humble architecture and even bring some from other places that possibly had a similar looking architecture, just not as grandiose as the European style ones. It was those folks who supplied the physical labor to put into effect the architectural plans and designs that these people had who built those mega projects. But who's to say that in the lands where the people created the huts, there weren't artists that could have envisioned their version of fancy architecture, but they just refused to because it's not something that they valued. They were not trying to have these monuments to celebrate military victories and stuff because it's not something that they valued. Maybe they valued their chiefs, the leaders of their groups of people, say in native terms, in the West Indies, places like that. I'm not saying that they didn't commemorate any of their leaders having their own monuments. I'm just saying that they didn't have to have these massive mega projects to display such a thing, to exist through the ages the way that the European designers did. So I look at it as you may not have been the one who designed it, but you were the one who made it possible with your physical work, your body, your contributions in that aspect. You made those things possible. And I'm not saying that the individuals who designed those architectural wonders couldn't have achieved it. I'm just saying that is the type of job that the folks who are looked at as inferior would have completed, at least from what history has shown me from the little bit that I got to study about it in school. Now, when I think of that, immediately my first reaction to it was the individual who posted this originally claimed that this was cultural progression. To that, I simply responded with zero mention of the significantly negative environmental impacts. And to that, I happen to have gotten a reply that goes such as, and I said, no biggie, major deforestation, displacement of animals, soil health declining, having to literally reshape the entire land area, the maintenance, little things like that. And what I'm saying is that who's to say that the individuals who we perceive as lacking advancement, lacking skill, lacking design principles, grandeur type of goals, I guess, they already didn't have the capacity to do those things, but they opted not to do that. They opted for something more simple. And my point is that at least the folks who constructed the huts, to me, they may have been not as advanced in medicine, not as advanced in technology as a whole, but at least to me, I look at it as they were in better harmony with the environment. Did they still do stuff to trees, like, I don't know, cut them down to use their leaves, branches, whatever? Whatever processes, whatever natural raw materials they needed to build their huts. I'm not saying that doesn't have an impact at all on their environment. I'm just saying that that impact is more practical than the impact of these mega architectural projects that we have in comparison. The cathedrals and all that good stuff. To build those things, at some point, you needed to incorporate things like plumbing, turn the floor into concrete, something that doesn't really exist naturally in the extent that we see it in cities and towns and all that. And I'm just saying that when you impact the environment like that, a lot of things suffer. But we only focus on what the humans are gaining, but we don't think about our relationship with the environment close by. Even if it would have been built in land that really wasn't arable, or if you built it in places that were desolate and everything, I'm just saying that by you doing those things, you're altering everything. And sometimes people don't think about things like rain. Maybe in this place, they no longer have precipitation the way they used to because now there aren't bodies of water or enough moisture in the area for clouds to form and then for rain to do its thing. I don't know about you guys, but to me, it seems like we have periods of prolonged droughts more often than we did before. But maybe that's just a geological cycle that we go through here and there. But at least in my opinion, even though we got a lot of rain on a previous season, now all of a sudden we have had weeks of droughts. And when I think about it, the droughts seem to align with the time in which there's been a lot of development going on with land. Say the highway, they've been building extra lanes, extra exits, the whole housing projects that we got going on. Those things do not promote the health of the area environmentally. That's what I'm trying to convey here. Whereas the more humble architecture, the huts with the soil, with the dirt, and all that, is not exactly sanitary. It's not exactly conducive to the reduction of the spread of disease or whatever has plagued those societies that live more humbly. But I'm just saying that in the grand scheme of things, in the bigger picture, their environmental impact is minimized. And I think that is worthy of applause. That is worthy of acknowledgement and celebration. But we as people like to focus on the goals that God knows who had them in the beginning, the ambition of building the tallest building, having the fanciest interior decor, all of those things, just being impressed by, I guess, seeing your imagination materialize in the form of art. And I'm just here questioning, what is the point? What is the gain outside of possibly capitalistic motivations or cultural motivations? How is it that sacrificing the environment for those things, for the implementation of those things, how is it worth it in the grand scheme of things? How is that parasitic relationship that I keep mentioning here justified? How is it worth it? What are we truly gaining out of that? And I'm not trying to say that your cultural heritage or anything like that is completely worthless, but I'm just asking about the cost of developing those things, creating those things, what it does to people and what it does to non people. What it does to people as well is when a project like that is invented, is pending, you gotta seek out the labor because of the economy and all those issues that we invented. You're going to try to hire that labor cheaply, meaning that individuals who built things like those huts, because of their, I guess, lack of financial prowess, they are more likely going to be the ones who are going to be targeted to build those very things. The very things that at some point impacted their personal environment, which they had a harmony going on with to a certain extent. I'm not saying that the folks who built huts never ever made mistakes or caused certain displacements and stresses on the land or anything like that. Anytime you do something, even animals themselves, we have invasive species, we have the animals that eat too much vegetation, we have the pests, we have the plagues. Like, I get it, I get that. I'm not trying to say that the environment is perfect. It's the impact of it is what I'm trying to scrutinize here. Like the cost of the human impact with these mega projects versus the impact of those more naturally recurring issues. I hope that makes sense. Anytime someone brings up that philosophy and they try to make it political, especially this person saying that this is a leftist thing, I'm like, why does it have to be political? When are you going to discuss the fact that whether you're leftist or right wing, we do have a parasitic relationship with the environment? Your ambition, those things that you enjoy, those things that you like, have a price, have a cost, but you have been desensitized to it and disconnected from it. And I'm, at the very least, since I'm a participant of that and I don't have a choice as a consumer and person existing in the current society, I don't want to ever lose touch with that fact. I don't want to become completely disconnected from how things got here and the actual cost of it. The cost on underprivileged people by our own definition, and the environmental cost. Those things. That's what I'm trying to convey here. I'm not looking for you to agree. I sincerely don't care if you disagree. I'm just trying to point out that I like to see things beyond what is apparent. What is apparent is that those things are deemed as impressive. What I like to see beyond what's apparent is trying to imagine what that area would have looked like before we started ambitioning these mega construction projects. Whatever the motivation was, whatever the gain we were supposed to have from those is, I just see a lot of those things as dead space. You cannot reside in museums. You cannot really establish a business there either. You cannot grow anything there. I'm just saying, what is this doing for us for our subsistence in the long run? Because usually, when we tried to, say, figure out how to breed the animals, how to breed the plants, we were trying to give ourselves food security. Let's just pick that as an example. Now, when it comes to this architecture that just houses art and complex patterns and stuff on the walls, what is that doing for us, for our future preservation? That's what I want to know. I can't eat that. I can't drink that. Those things. So you're telling me you're willing to sacrifice the environment that maybe could have been used in a way to help us subsist, but instead you decided to use it for these other things. And in the process, you're going to prey on individuals who are defenseless, I guess, against being shit, possibly kidnapped, possibly because of your displacement of these people, they have to work for you to make money, to not expire. You know what I mean? Those little things. That's what I like to not become disconnected from. What do you guys have it? That's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. This was kind of difficult for me to express because I've never really tried to discuss this before quite like this. I have made mentions of it here and there, but to actually dive into this, it was something else. It was something different. And you guys let me know. Let me know what I'm missing. Let me know how these cathedral thingity thingies really are good for us. All those things, because I can say that I am detached from the history of those things. And all I can think about is how people have always suffered in the past for us to have what we have now. Is that really necessary? What is the point of that? I don't get it. All right, that's it. Bye.